Is it working?
I'm like.
Okay, just mute the site that shows up,
Yeah.
otherwise you get an echo.
Yeah. I thought the whole.
Right, technology is working.
Mine too.
Right.
It's like. Guys are right, so I knew it was bad. I mean, you know, but outside, so.
There's some not guilty of worse.
Well, you saw guilty.
Violence and.
It's not.
You know.
But it was hard to follow when. Like, I know you had to do long, so it was hard to follow was the more.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of sounds in there that were real. It's like, this. Yeah, it's.
When you say it's like.
No. It's fine, because you do that, but I can't even go back. Oh, really? No, I want to see one there. I didn't see that.
Oh, where did it go?
Yeah. So. Not bad for the first year. No, I think some of those.
And then say that's from. Just.
Yeah.
Offer about it, so it's.
Are you in the true crime?
Oh, I blocked it. I mean, I moved some, but it was part of it. So like, I knew he had schizophrenia too. And so it was hard to figure out what he was envisioning versus what he was, you know, two guys. So I remember it, no one about the whole story was born in the cause.
Right. And I didn't know. So it was kind of.
Yeah, but.
Normally he's gonna start. Yeah, because.
Oh, Dahmer, that's yeah, that was the other thing, yeah.
Get the car. Then that's probably this is Listen, for goodness sakes, there, but.
Okay, that's all, the space.
Stings.
Yeah,
That's a theory of it.
I've seen 3 of them. Two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, it scared me away.
Jump all over from all that. This is good. Because you get so used to everything said, you know, they want us to say. Yeah, it's like, it's not safe, but I have never so. Yeah, no, it's like. Actually, was it Pennsylvania?
When the old one in.
Yeah, well, maybe for bad, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of scary for profiles, I don't even exist. Yeah, I'm like, so I'm coming back, I'm asking, when you send this, that is what I would break, if I had it. Asking.
All right, it's 6 o'clock, and actually, yeah, 6 o'clock, I'll begin, city council meeting with.
I just say so America. One mission in America, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. It's beautiful out. It was really busy and fun at the fire hall. We do not have a guest speaker tonight, but we'd welcome any public comments. Fire team right now. If anyone is online, you can make public comment by just simply unmuting yourself and stating your name and residence for the record and share a couple minutes with council.
It's just Linda.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, not just Linda. Linda, do you have any comments? I don't think so.
All right, anyone in the city hall wish to make public comment? All right, hearing none, we could accept any changes or additions to the agenda. I think you wanted to change something under consent calendar.
Yeah, we want to pull the MOU for Three Rivers.
Okay. Any other changes or additions? Hearing none. It's been a very busy couple of weeks. Caroline's been all over, so she is steeped in Septoberfest. Thank you to all the city staff that were involved. I know a lot of people were working on activities this year and everything was wonderful. Yeah, it's good to have school back in session, the fire trucks out at the schools. I think that night at the fire hall is pretty much the see and be seen moment for ages 3 to 11 or so. It's pretty hopping. All right, with that, we've got Caroline's report, or committee report, excuse me, utilities, you guys met yesterday.
Yeah, 2 of our consent items. The MPCA grant contract, that's just going out for grant money. We'll use that we may use it, the state is doing a bunch of testing for us. So if we don't have to spend it, we won't. But we may use some of the money for our own testing, we're trying to do our own testing.
PFAS?
Yeah, PFAS to see where we're at. And if ultimately the state does shut off well 3, then we can use that to like look for alternative well sites, do more studies, things like that. So it's just anything we do for PFAS in terms of figuring out what we're gonna do if we have to do something, we can give them a receipt and get that money for it. So that's a good thing. The other thing was the Lawrence lift station. It's all grant money. So we voted to move forward with the only bidder on the project, so. And it's looking like the costs are substantially lower than we even anticipated, so, but it's all grant money, so.
Port authorities.
Port Authority was busy. I don't know how much, I'll just start interrupt me, okay? I'll get. So, Port Authority typically meets, 3rd Tuesday of the month. But prior to that, we were notified that our city representative, had resigned. So early in the month that happened, so mid-month or so, we ended up, interviewing somebody, meeting with CETA, for who they recommended for a candidate. We brought that to, the Port Authority, and we met, CETA was there and kind of said their piece. And we've determined that we're not going to pursue this new person with CETA. We're gonna hold off and maybe put out RFPs for a new, EDA, specialist. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Kathy was instrumental, Kathy Ederson, who worked for CETA, was instrumental in many things that we were able to get done. The watch committee, which is housing, was one of her big things. And just huge successes, some grant writing as well. That being said, we learned of 2 grants, that Kathy helped with that we were awarded this month. One is to refund or recharge our revolving loan fund program, and that's through the USDA. And then DEED gave us a grant for $750,000 to help us build the road to the barge terminal. So again, just crazy stuff, good stuff. Regular meeting, we discussed, of course, CETA, we also discussed, but did not vote on taking over Main Street funding and chamber funding, so we'll vote on that with consensus was there, so we'll vote on that in the October meeting. The barge terminal, highway project, all our other projects are going along as expected. We still have one hangup with the barge terminal with respect to the DNR. We've been assured that the agreement's there, we just haven't seen it yet. So we'll see what that goes. Hopefully we'll have that by the end of this month. We got all of our federal approvals done. So thank you for all of that. So with that, also this month, Caroline and I went to the St. Paul Port Authority's port tour. Jeff, you've been on that in the past. It's good. It's good to be there because kind of some of the key players are there. So we were able to meet the new colonel for the Army Corps, which his name absolutely escapes me. I don't remember if you were.
Chase,
What, Chase?
yeah.
I remember Carl Jansen was there, who was the old colonel, returned in a civilian post with Army Corps for this region. So that's a big deal for us. He's the one that's kind of on the ground and
will see us and work with us a little more, so that's great news. We met with Sandy Pappas, Caroline did a good job to interrupting and saying hi to people and having this lengthy conversation, it worked great. And I really think that those conversations probably are why we are back on the bonding tour this year. So again, just totally, like I said, very, very busy month for it. And we're on the bonding tour because we're still in there for bonding for the balance of the project on the highway reroute. So we can do the build out as it stands now. We're looking for some infrastructure kind of is where we're at that point.
And I always do a very bad job of thinking about rounding the troops up when they come to visit. I was very focused on their logistics, but that's November 6th, 3 o'clock. Is that
3 in
right?
the afternoon.
And we don't have the details, but I welcome anybody and everybody to show up, city staff, I mean, you guys are all embedded in this work, and when they see people showing up, I think it's evident that there's a lot of support for this activity, so. Let's, I just forget about that sort of, that it should be it's a PR piece for the, for them, but it should also be some, a way for us to show the committee.
Yeah,
how-
a message to them that this is a big deal.
Yeah,
So just finally, I just want to thank staff and Kara and Kathy for all the work they do for the port. We are a long ways from where we were 2 years ago. It's amazing. So there you go. That's all I got.
I've been thinking about trying to put together some kind words for Kathy. We talked about whether we'll have a send off in some fashion. Just on housing, there have been over 42 public meetings. That doesn't even count like Greater Minnesota Futures, getting to the concept, all that kind of thing. So plus the 18 months of dedicated, watch involvement. And I mean, Kathy was she was like the driving force behind all that activity, making us aware that this step and this step and this step, not hurry up this step. So really,
It's one of those situations you don't know what you don't know, and we talked about this prior to hiring Sita. And when Kathy came on board, we realized what opportunities were out there that we weren't able to tap, and she's just really was hugely beneficial in the current position, so.
all right, streets and parks.
Good evening, everyone. Street Commission met today and we talked about, we've been having problems downtown with, light poles on Pembroke Avenue. The banner brackets stick out too far and a service truck or delivery truck will pull up and break the brackets off or scratches the truck. So we're coming up with different options. One option was to rotate the light poles and put the banners on the inside. And then that messes up the flag bracket, electrical outlet. And another option was to rotate the poles 90 degrees, but you wouldn't see the banners driving through town, they kind of be straight in line with the curb. So, Bolton Mink, Brian has contacted the company and actually found a bracket that will do the same thing without moving the poles. And I think that's gonna be the option. They're gonna pay, to have pieces for like $4,600. And the labor, they're gonna pay for that, so with their mess up and they owned up to it, so we're gonna vote on that next month, probably get that going. We did talk about, so over the years. I should have done this a long time ago, but when we do like a subdivision. A lot of people or the developers like to plant trees right on the property line. And it might be along a park, or might be, on the boulevard. So when that tree dies or needs maintenance, who does it? Who pays for it? And we get in arguments, and then I usually end up just like, we're just taking care of the problem. I'm not gonna fight it over people trying to divide up the cost if it's 2/3 of the tree or per half. So we're trying to work through streets, parks, planning, zoning, with Wendy and Christie, and maybe get some wording changed. They have to be 5 or 10 feet off the property line. Maybe it'll help in the future. And St. Felix and Pembroke handicap spots. We did vote to put a couple in, but then we found another snafu this afternoon after I talked to Brian, so we just gotta change one. In front of the gym, but we're just gonna work through that and revisit that next month. Park board met, and they talked, that is on the consent agenda tonight for approval of the sign, Eagles Basin Park. And I think there's some money that is in the park account from like development that is gonna go towards the purchase of that sign or all of it. We reviewed the 2026 fee schedule along with, other departments. There's some increases, some are staying the same, nothing too drastic, but we're trying to, keep up with our costs as well. Wabasha County had a couple excess culvert tubes, that somebody requested for use down at the dog park, so we picked them up and they're installed. And we did an update for the parks, on the maintenance budget, how we're gonna reduce that a little bit, put more money into the streets. And then we talked about the grant, the WMB grant, and then the projects that are going in at the athletic field. That was it for that. And then it's Matt Wabi's, 5-year anniversary with the city. So Matt, you can have him come on up. Riley's got like a 3-page speech. So
Matt is the only one that stuck with, the public works crew after I was hired. Being new, I quickly noticed how valuable Matt was to the city of Wabasha and the public works department. He was more than willing to share any knowledge he had, which was extremely beneficial to me when first starting out. I've watched him continue to do that with all the new people we have brought on board since. He is a natural leader who isn't scared to make decisions and lead when necessary. He helps lead the pool operations, winterizing efforts, and the group of guys that handles our lawn care throughout the city. I have heard nothing but high praise from the members of this community when talking about Matt. He also volunteers his time on the fire department as a captain and an engineer. He is always someone Tony and I can count on and is a crucial part to our success in the department. I hope to work with him for a very long time.
And I'll just add that from Pat, if he was here from the utilities end, would just say, Matt is his go-to guy if there's something going wrong with an alarm going off. Matt's one of the first people that can kind of figure something out. And of course, when I need help Saturday, would somebody please help me get some pumpkins to the Heritage Park? It was Matt that answered the call there. So thank you, Matt, and congratulations on your 5 years.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for giving me the opportunity to work this wonderful city. And I'm not man on many words, so I'll leave it at that, and I thank you again.
Thank you, Matt. It feels like more than 5 years. That didn't seem quite right, but somebody's counting. Wonderful. And planning commission.
So we reviewed the 2 cannabis dispensary CUPs that the county sent to us. I think they voted on it, or I don't know if they voted.
Motion's passed, yeah.
Well, okay, today. Then we just started our initial conversation with short-term rental, and should be progressing well on that. So hopefully within probably next couple of months, we'll have something for the council to review and approve.
I had a realtors share with me a Wisconsin Realtors Association study on Door County, 3 counties on short-term rentals and kind of unique learnings, and the members were able to receive the full report. I said, could you get it for me? So that'll be coming our way.
Okay.
Perfect. Great. And then any other good news or announcements? We'll hear from Caroline.
So we're hosting an open house on October 23rd at the fire hall for the Highway 60. So what's gonna happen is, Wendy and I and the team are gonna try to have some early conversations with adjacent property owners and Fresh Market. But then the whole community is invited to the fire hall. I believe it starts at 4 p.m. And Tony and I will be there along with the engineers, and so they'll have boards, they'll be able to answer questions, and so they'll have up, 3 different designs of what the new roadway might look like. And then I'll just, I think a lot has been covered by John. The parking lot and transfer building has been sold to Keller Bartman, is under their ownership. They're hoping to get it started in November. And then, Septoberfest has been covered, and, we're continuing to research, the building, ambulance. Future combined building, and so we didn't put it on this agenda just with everything that we had going on, so.
Very good. All right, so on our consent agenda, as the Eagles Basin Park sign that Tony mentioned, the MPCA grant contract for the PFAS planning, Brian mentioned the approval for. Emergency manager Riley to go to pursue the brick grant, the MOU is taken off, approval of myrec.com recreation software, paid for by pool funds. Our regular September 2nd city council meeting minutes and our September 17th special city council minutes, the October warrants, the Lawrence lift station, and the payout for the street construction. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Oh, sorry.
We have a motion from Jeff, second from motion from Tim, second from Jeff. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. All right, now we have a public hearing on our tax abatement. And we've got Mike Rubani here, who probably can kick it off for us. Hey, Mike.
Good evening. So last time I was here, I presented recommendations for financing this year's road and utility improvement project. And I discussed the need as a city government to identify statutory authority to issue bonds to pay for stuff like that. One of the pieces of authority we identified was special assessment authority in chapter 429, very common authority. But the requirement of that authority is that you assess at least 20% of the cost. And the special assessments that were sized did not match the 20% threshold. That didn't fill the project, but what it did mean is we had to identify supplemental authority to issue enough debt to pay for the project in its entirety. And we identified tax abatement authority. And this is an authority that says the city has to identify enough city parcels who benefit in some way from the project. And their taxes have to add up to the principal amount of that portion of the bonds. So later, when we're talking about the bond issuance, I think it's $2,015,000 total. $945,000 of that is considered a tax abatement piece. So I had to have enough parcels that added up to that over the life of the bonds. And so what I did is I just started tacking on parcels from the southern part of the improvements. I don't remember the roadway, but it's on the south side of town there. And once I got enough parcels with city taxes, I stopped. There's no need to, take parcels from each piece or anything like that. We just have to have enough whose taxes add up to those numbers. Now, when I mentioned this, during last month or 2 months ago, whenever that was, I wanted people to know that if they saw their tax parcel in the publication in the newspaper, that nothing's happening to them. It's purely a paper exercise to secure the authority. Later on, when we're talking about the bond issuance itself, you're gonna see a bunch of revenues identified, water, sewer, special assessments. Then you're gonna see sort of like regular tax levies and tax abatement levies. For all intents and purposes, you can take the tax abatement levy and the regular old tax levy and just mush them together. Because when you send these levies to the county, in December, when you finalize your levy for next year, they don't know to assign those levies only to certain parcels. They're gonna spread it across the entire city like it's a regular old levy. So again, just a paper exercise. So that is the purpose of the hearing tonight, is to get that authority for that piece of the bond issue. And then, of course, following the public hearing, you'll be asked to adopt a resolution to approve the abatements. And then after that, we'll talk about a resolution to award the sale of bonds, should you choose to do so.
Very good. All right. Any questions from council? All right, then we'll ask for any comments from the public. Yep, thank you for the time. 6:21, we'll open the public hearing, and does anybody else join online? Linda, if you would like to make comment about this tax abatement portion of the agenda, you can certainly do that now, and it'll be part of the public record as well. Anyone in the council chambers who wants to state their name and residence, just feel free to do that at the podium. We'll call again for public comment. It's always the longest 1 minute when no one has questions. Call one more time for public comment. All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing at 6:22. Thank you, Mike. We'll look forward to the next steps. All right, now our resolution, excuse me, under general business, we have our resolution approving our tax abatement. And was Carolyn, were you gonna start this or was Mike gonna do this one as well?
I think he
Covered.
covered it, yeah.
Okay. Any questions on this item?
I'll move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, Brian and then Tim, or just was it Jean?
It was Tim.
It was Tim, okay, you guys have a similar, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, and now the resolution awarding the bonds,
I think it would be helpful, Mike, if you
talk through this one a little bit.
talk us through this. I think we got the attachments correct this time, so let me know what you want, hopefully not.
All right, so probably the most important one will be the one that looks like this, Caroline.
Okay,
I don't know if you have a paper copy of that in front of you as well, council.
It's the bottom one.
So during that presentation, last time I was here and talked about, recommendations regarding the bond issuance. One of the recommendations was for the city to secure credit rating, through Standard & Poor's. You pay a lot of money to secure a credit rating, in this case, a little over $15,000 to get that credit rating. But you get a much lower interest rate and you'll save tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars of interest over the life of the deal for getting the rating, so that's why we do it. So what happened was when the council said, go forth and do what you do, we prepared the preliminary official statement. Thank you, staff, for all your assistance in that. And we scheduled a call with Standard & Poor's. It's called the management call. Tyler, Caroline, and myself sat in on that call. It takes about an hour. And they had about 3 pages worth of questions. They take that to committee and then they provide the rating as a result. And I can't say I was concerned, but a piece of me thought we would go from our current rating of AA minus A+, simply because Standard & Poor's had changed their criteria and formulas for determining ratings. So it wouldn't have been necessarily a reflection on anything you do. So when they came back and said, we're gonna reaffirm the AA minus rating for Wabasha, that's fantastic news. Now, the one thing they did change was, if you were to read the rating report, you'll see that it says AA minus negative, as opposed to AA minus stable. And too often people see that negative and they think that means, oh my gosh, it means bad things about Wabasha. And it said, no, what it really means is that the negative outlook means there's a fairly good chance at some point the rating could go down to A+. That's all it means. Now, while that might sound bad, going, a notch down in your credit rating, the difference in an interest rate might be 5 to 10 basis points when that happens. So financially speaking, it's not that big of a deal. The biggest benefit is rated versus non-rated. The gap there is 50 to 75 basis points. So whether you were A+ or AA minus, I would have suggested getting rated regardless. But what were some of the reasons for the negative outlook? And you mentioned them tonight. Basically, it's the potential pending debt for additional projects could pressure that down to an A+. And we did explain to them that a lot of the borrowing is sort of, we're not even sure it's gonna happen. So you mentioned the barge project. Well, when I first was told about that barge project, it was a huge number, and then between the grants that keeps seeming to pour in, that number's getting smaller and smaller by the day. You mentioned the relocation of the highway project. That also could be subject to a number of outside funds as well. And then we had the joint public safety building, right? That's who knows if that's gonna happen kind of thing. But in their eyes, it's we'll believe it when we see it. So, if we go through with all those projects and the debt associated with all that, chances are it will be an A+, but what will be an A+ stable versus a AA minus negative, if that makes sense, okay. All right, so we opened up bids today. That was another recommendation to do a competitive sale, and typically we expect 3 to 5 bids and we hit the sweet spot. We had 4 bids come in. What we do is we take the compensation requirement of the purchaser, And then we take all of the interest rates that they assign to all the various maturities and kind of mush it all up into a net effective rate. Cause you're gonna see all sorts of rates on this thing, but what's the average kind of cost? And the net effective rate on this ended up being 3.78%. Now, I don't know if you had it, but there was, yeah, you do. You don't have to pull it up, but if you were to pull up the tab, bid tab, you'll see that the low bid there was actually like 1 basis point difference. And the reason this page here is different from that page here by just, again, by like a singular basis point, is because based on the rates that they did, when I plugged those rates in, it made my payments a little wonky, meaning I have some bigger payments and then some smaller payments and stuff. And for your budgeting purposes, I moved principal around to make it more smooth, right? But it was attempted to do that. And so, because your net effective rate is a function of how much principal you have and what year, what the rate is assigned to that year, that's why it can impact that net effective rate. So, anyways, 3.78% would be the final result. When I was here last time, I showed a net effective rate, I think just over 4.13%. So good result. Now, one thing that's on here that's a little different, we may have spoke about it a little bit, but when I'm designing a bond issue, I can't say with certainty how people are going to bid. And so what I do is I design it on the basis that people are gonna bid at par, meaning they're gonna put a coupon of 2.5% as an example, and then the yield is 2.5%. And in which case, easy work. But sometimes what these investors do, these underlying investors, is they want to assign, they may be willing to accept a certain yield as a return on their money, but they want to slap a different interest rate on the bond itself for a variety of reasons. And typically it's because their expectation is they may or may not hold on to this bond themselves for the entirety. And what they don't want to do is have an interest rate on there that is problematic. Let's say 5 years down the road, they thought interest rates were going to be higher. They wouldn't want to have a low interest rate bond because then they'd have to sell it at a discounted price. Price of bond goes opposite of yield. So anyways, on this sheet, you're gonna see 2 rows of interest rates. You're gonna see coupon. And that's the interest rate on which you pay. So I take those coupons times those principal payments to get the interest. And then you're gonna see yield. And what that means is these folks paid us a premium to slap a higher rate on the bonds. And so you'll see in the sources and uses, there's total premium there of about $68,000 that comes back to us. And then if you take your eyes down to the bottom right, the account balance, you see we put that money in the debt service fund. And so what that does is it means our first levy is reduced. So I think I had asked you guys to do your preliminary levy before we had this put in place of something around $100,000 for this to kind of be a placeholder. Well, now we're down to 60-some thousand dollars if you take the tax abatement levy and the regular levy together. Now, what that means is going into 2027, we're not having any cash in the debt service fund, so it's gonna jump up to about $100,000 a year. So my recommendation to Caroline, when we chatted about this morning, is even if you reduce your debt levy for your final budget from the 100,000 down to the 60-some thousand, I would tell you to keep it, the difference, keep the levy in your levy, but just put it somewhere else, put it into a capital project fund, wherever you wanna put it, so that going into 2027, there won't be a spike. Does that make sense? Personal opinion, you don't have to do it, but that's just what I would do. Okay, and then lastly, just remember, these bonds cannot be called, you cannot prepay on these bonds until 2033, but once that date rolls around, you can prepay in whole or in part, no penalties. Just got par plus accrued interest. So I know I'm just riveting and keeping you all on the edge of your seats, so I stop there and questions.
Any questions? We appreciate you repeating it. It's clear every time it comes back to us, so thank you for that. All right, if there are no questions for Mike, then we have a bond sale resolution. Do we have a motion on it?
I'll second.
We have a first from Tim, second from Jean. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. All right,
Thank you all.
Mike.
Closing scheduled for October 21st. We'll be in touch with staff with instructions as we approach that day.
Good.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for being
Mike.
with us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have to ratify the Firemen's Relief Association by law amendment to increase their fire pension by $200 a year. The budget, no budget impact, forget what the increase comes from, from proceeds of their investment portfolio. Anything you wanna share with us about this?
Darren, I mean, we did a pretty good staff report to explain it. I guess I just wanted to say that me and Wendy met with Amy Gadke. And just the only risk we take here, a bunch of people retire and the markets go down. But otherwise, we did a number of different scenarios. This is a safe scenario, by which we have there wouldn't be any additional obligation from the city. As, Mayor mentioned, it's using, funds that they have available through their investments. So do you want to add anything, Darren?
No, it's all good.
I'll make motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Dean, we have a motion from Dean, second from John. Any further discussion on this one? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Abstained, yeah, thank you, Jean's abstained. All right.
Don't feel
Thanks,
like you
guys.
need to stay.
Yeah, it's more just It's still daylight. Popped out of my agenda there, all right, and. Premium increase policy and HSA contribution discussion. Caroline also did a very nice job on this staff memo, but it is a big topic, so.
Okay, you want me to go over my memo, everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
And everybody saw there's some.
So,
Yeah,
right
items.
now, unfortunately, yes, we had budgeted for, a 15% increase in our healthcare, and once again, it came back high, and it seems like that's happening across the region to every single city. If we make no changes to employee premiums, what they're paying, and we bear the cost completely of the cost increase, we've estimated it's actually more like 23% increase from what the city would pay from last year to this year. And then I was asked to do some research on what other communities do. We're actually lower than the school district. I was misreading their chart and I had to double their number, so we are higher than the county. My research has concluded that we are pretty comparable for other small cities, and they all, except for Plainview, all other small cities that I reviewed, except for Plainview, tend to have a policy where there is some sort of cost share with employees who are on a family premium, and cities tend to cover the entire amount of the increase for just a single plan. So I included a chart for you all, and so Wabasha is the first blue line. St. Charles has a policy where they cover 100% of employees and 50% of dependents. And so I've graphed a family, 2 people and 4 kids would have on that. With Mayo Access, they'd be paying close to $1,000 a month. Cannon Falls and Broda, they're all on the same kind of plan that we offer. And then Pine Island is on PEEP. And we used to have that, and it was very difficult to use. It seemed like on purpose. If you went outside of your designated clinic, it was very cumbersome. We are waiting on a quote from them, or we have a quote from them.
Back from you.
Yeah, and that was it kind of lower or the same, or?
It depended on the plan, and I averaged them out between family plan and single plan, because that's it, it goes single or family, there's no employee and dependent or employee and spouse, it's just single or family. The one thing to note is that there are 4 tiers within the PEAK plan, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you designate your primary care clinic, say Mayo, whether it's Lake City or Plainview, once you hit the tier 4, your deductible is higher, your copays are higher. So it becomes more out of pocket for the employee, so there might be initial cost saving if you could find a clinic around here, but I'm gonna say that at a minimum, even Gunderson, I think, was a level 2. When we were on the P plan before, nobody is a level 1 in this area. So there's gonna be higher costs associated with that. When I compared across the board to where we are currently with Blue Cross, it was a savings on a few and not on a few. So it's kind of a wash that way. Just listening to, and I'm somebody who's not biased about it because I don't take the healthcare for the city. Hearing the trials that it was using in the past. If you have to select a primary care clinic, if you have to get a referral, the referrals took forever. They were supposedly put through and then they'd get billed and they wouldn't cover it. There was constant fighting between the employee and Pete. So I don't know if it's of value to put it back out to the staff and see if they're interested. I've been working with Bill Singer from AT Group for checking out southeastern Minnesota, the consortium pool, and he indicated that more applications have been rejected from them than accepted. So we are still waiting to see. I put a census together and threw an application in just to see. United Healthcare does not come back any lower. They're higher than Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Health Partners doesn't write for this area. So our availability limited on what we can utilize. Blue Cross is probably the best option we have because they have to give us insurance, where the pools can deny us. The other thing to know about PEEP is they can come in at a halfway decent plan, but we have to lock in for 2 years and they can give us anywhere between 0 and 50% renewal on year 2 and you have to take it.
Okay. Yeah,
I forgot
healthcare
about
is
that
fun.
extra special little last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just with that, I should, but have you heard from the Peep cities, whether they've been seeing lower annual increases? That was,
Everybody's coming in at around 20.
okay.
The entire state is coming in at around 20.
So you can see where like Pine Island, Lake City, Chatfield are all on peak. So Pine Island, a full family's paying $705. Lake City's close to $725. They only pay 70% of the family plan.
And I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that their peak plan and premium was around 2,700 for a family.
Okay. All right, so that's that. So then, here are the options as I've distilled them. Obviously, options are infinite, but. If we assume 100% of the cost share of the increase for healthcare. I've said, I don't think we can do that and increase everyone's HSA contribution. So the other thing that was a surprise is everyone's deductibles went up this year. So that wasn't something we expected in the preliminary, either, is that everyone's deductible, and traditionally, we haven't had a policy, but we try to, continue to kind of keep up with, back in the day, we covered maybe 80% of somebody's deductible here with an HSA contribution. In researching that, some cities will cover 100% of your deductible with the HSA contribution, others have a 50% policy. We're contributing 57% of everybody's deductible right now. If the deductible increases go in place, then we don't change our HSA contribution for the employees, that percentage goes down. So one option number one is what was discussed at the ad hoc, but again, we didn't have the final numbers, was that the city assumes 100% of the cost share for the premium increase. The other option that I looked at was that, a flat fee increase, so that percentage wise, the city is continuing to cover about the same percent of the total cost of the plan, which approximately, we cover 80% of the plan for both families and singles right now. So that would actually be pretty significant. I think last year we increased families by maybe $55 and singles $5 and employees plus dependents was $25. That would actually be probably about $100 a month increase for a full family plan. $40 a month for a single plus dependents plan and $8 a month for a single. The other thing we could do is just, however, we are averaging that the percent went up 18%, so then approximately then everyone's premium could also go up 18%. So that's kind of a approach that it seemed to me that other cities do, where they kind of maintain that percentage of the premium that the city is covering. And then for the HSA contribution, you know, I think it seems to me that, I did get some feedback from staff about definitely people would like to believe that the HSA contribution from the city should increase as, either the full amount that it's gone up, which I think for a family is about $900. Single, it was 200 to 300, or if we just keep that same percentage, it would be probably an additional 400 to 500 of an HSA increase. So I ran all those scenarios. We were trying to make a decision regardless of budget. But I guess, again, kind of big picture, if we want to increase HSAs, I did get some feedback from staff about a modest increase for the premium increase, but then also increasing the HSA. Riley and Tony are the last staff here. I did not have time to poll everyone and get input. But you know, you could ask the staff here quickly what they would prefer. We also just briefly looked at dental insurance, and that's something that I asked Wendy. I mean, we haven't increased anyone's dental premiums in a while. You know, maybe we just talked about like rounding that up a little bit. That only went up 7% to just, it seemed like we used to have some sort of percentage policy. We'll have to look at that, but dental has been relatively minor, so we haven't really messed with the premiums there. Do you want to add anything, Wendy?
It's frustrating. I think it's not just us. I mean, you guys are feeling it, I'm sure, as well as it's frustrating to see, but we can thank our leaders at the state level for allowing some of this stuff to happen this way. We're paying for GLP-1s now across the board and everybody's insurance premiums and all the other fun stuff, and it doesn't seem fair that way, but.
And yeah, just to say, I did get some feedback from Rob Benz that he thought that HSA should be increased to compensate the deductible increase and a modest increase to premiums, but. Does anyone else want to comment from staff? I didn't prepare anybody.
Outside of, it's tough to see the premiums go up so much if it's gonna impact staff's increase. They're gonna get, you know, or class, then COLA increase, and then it gets washed out, or it depletes even, you get less money. I know it's a benefit, and it's just sometimes hard to swallow, so.
Any questions or comments from council? So you're only waiting on Pete?
No, we have feedback.
I'm sorry, you're only waiting on the other
So
Southeast Minnesota
we'll
ones,
see if we'll get even, I'm assuming.
but they're rejecting more than they're.
Yeah, because they do a census review and we're pretty high usage, so unfortunately. That will put us in a bad rating.
Regarding the premium increase, I kind of like option 3. And then for the HSA contributions, I'm kind of like with option 2. That's my opinion. Just to throw a little bit, talk about medical costs and stuff, Social Security people. This year we paid $185 a month, next year we're paying $206 a month, so that went up 11%. And if you have the Advantage plan, that went up $40 a month, so. And then we're only supposed to get a 2.6% Social Security COLA. You check it out, after you take your new Medicare premium out, basically get Social Security people are gonna get a 1.1%, so think about that,
It's a different plan, however.
doesn't matter.
Well, it does,
No,
because it
it's
does.
You're
It
still
does.
paid.
Yeah, but you have coverage for way different services. It's not a plan equivalency. There's no plan equivalency between Medicare and what people are offered in the market, so.
Do we all agree that the PEEP thing sounds like it sucks?
Oh,
I
think
it's not.
They need to do the work on that. Yeah, I'd forgotten mostly about that. I mean, we can't tolerate that commitment to a 2-year
Yeah.
contract and then have it
It's-
explode on us. That, I think that, I'd forgotten about that because it's a terrible feature, put it that way.
Yeah, the last round one for me was when I was trying to call around to use it and no one knew what I was talking to about, and they were like, I don't even know where to transfer your call to help you, and I was like, oh god. So, yeah, I think staff don't wanna go back to PEEP. Riley doesn't remember what PEEP was like. After we heard this story.
Oh, so I'm ready to use it.
Alright, so.
So your research leads you to believe that there is room for us to consider more employee contribution, and it's mostly in. Are we most different in HSA? I can't remember, you just,
That it seems like, yeah, I
It
guess,
depends on what plan you're on,
sure,
cause we have 4 options,
Yeah.
so, yeah,
but you like your 4 options, right?
yes, that's nice, I think that's great.
I think if you, the percentage option would be then that what Wendy and I would be doing is. Divvying out, I guess, each specific plan that employees are doing. I believe the percentage amount that each specific plan went up from the last year. On average might be slightly different, or is it about the same across the board? Yeah.
So. It depends on the person on the plan, because the age
Yeah.
band falls into place, so once you hit a lovely age of say 50.
Yeah, your costs are higher, they're just.
Your costs are higher, and then if you hit 60, they're even higher, you know, and so. It's hard, the young kids here, they're great on the plan, cause they're minimal, but they're less liability, so. It's,
But then you've got the tools of,
Correct.
of
Yep.
accumulated HSA over
So-
time and your salary increases, so it's a counterbalancing.
and I don't know how you can level it out,
You
because
don't,
everybody's
yeah.
premium is completely different.
Plans are designed that way for a reason.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you're suggesting the premium increase number 2,
No, it's suggesting number 3.
number 3, sorry.
When we're talking premiums here, I'm sorry, I'm
That's the monthly.
trying, yeah, monthly premium, I just don't
that's a
see that
monthly
word in
premium,
here.
Yeah, right,
That's how it's graphed.
right.
So our employees for a family plan with Mayo pay about, I think it's $665. If it was another $100, which unfortunately 20%. So what's confusing here is what the city is actually paying on a full family fee. Range, we just looked at the numbers, anywhere from 2,000 to 3,600 a month. Okay, cause it's different, so. Yeah, so then. What it ends up being is the city of Wabasha is approximately covering 80% of the monthly premium costs for most employees, not all of them, younger ones, it's 75%, let's say. And we just done a flat rate so that if you did it the way other cities are doing it, I would get, my family would get charged a different rate than Joe's family. I think we're like the same age, but I mean, I've got, I think, wait, do you have 3 kids? Okay, well anyways, that's not a good example, but Riley's is, let's say Riley has 3 kids, he's gonna get charged less than me because he's younger. But any case, well, instead of everyone does having 36 different premiums, we've just done a flat rate. You know, so, but roughly speaking, on average, we pay for 80% of employees' benefits. So the way that we came up with roughly $100 increase was that would mean that with a, you know, a 20% increase to the 2,700 a month that my insurance costs, that roughly means that the city continues to pay 80% of that total cost. If we don't change anything, then the city is now paying for 83% of the premium cost. Is everyone tracking? It's very complicated.
So
So
the
the,
law is 50%, so we're not, you know,
yeah,
you can't not pay for your employees' healthcare, you have to pay 50%.
but if you did it the way number 3 would be, we would, I don't know what that means exactly, if we would then have premiums change for everybody and every single person would be different, but what I was kind of trying to describe here is if on average, we find that the Mayo plan went up 18%, then everybody on the Mayo family plan's premium would go up 18%, so it's $665. So whatever 18% of 665 is approximately, it'd be closer to like, yeah, 120. I came up with just a little less than that in number 2, but it's pretty much similar. But I think
That's the
people
most
find it
market
pretty,
sensitive. That's the most market sensitive solution and probably, I think, the most commonplace. I don't know about outside of public sector, that's probably more commonplace, that everybody does have a different amount, yeah, anyways,
So like me, I'm in a different case because I got VA coverage.
right.
100%. Not, it's not male. You know, I mean, it's scary, but I have to take city coverage because why would I not? Because then I can put, you know, I think it's $2,200 because I take the cheapest plan possible because I don't want to pay, you know, at least not on a paycheck. But then I get the $2,000, you know, in my HSA.
Right.
I just started it this year, but I know we talked about it, I know rules on it, but if you, I don't know if it's city policy, but if you don't wanna take the coverage and the city wants to pay me a little bit extra in my paycheck or a month or whatever to not take it and it saves everybody money, I don't know if that's an option or not, but I just throw it out there.
We've talked about that in our.
That's a cafeteria plan?
There are rules about that. I mean, there are rules about that is my only memory of that discussion, but it's worth, I guess, asking about.
I've looked into it.
Yeah,
Yep, and then there's, I mean, the only rule we would have to be concerned about is whether or not we have 75% participation to keep the plan for. the
that's
other.
right. That's the stickler.
I've been in favor of that because I'm not on the plan. I'm a cheap employee. I don't have any HSA. I don't have the insurance. It would be a good option to bring the city's costs down because they could provide a monthly stipend or a paycheck stipend to those that don't want it. That would be way less than what you would be putting in for insurance.
And do you remember, does it just have to be an HSA then?
What do you mean?
Like, everybody always asks that about, so what, like, not take insurance, can I just have more of this money come into my paycheck? And I thought when we looked into it, it's like, you can do that, you can have it just be a separate thing, but it has to be an HSA. There's something like that. It's been a while, but
It could be cash.
it can be, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
It's taxed.
It's taxable, it's,
Yeah.
yep,
Mhm.
I pooled to other cities that offer it,
Okay.
and there's quite a few of them that do it. We might be in a situation where we hit that 75%, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nobody would do it.
I think we'd have to have, you'd have to have 17 employees that would stay on coverage.
And what's your,
Currently, right now, we have
Depends
two
on how-
people that wait, myself and an ambulance,
alright, so we've got,
yeah.
You had a little healthcare group before, did you, like to go over some?
We're,
I mean, it's a-
yeah, you did.
When we last reviewed it, we were told that it was illegal, and then Wendy followed up again, and she's like, well, I can think of a few examples where it's not illegal. I would just comment that the only way we run, okay, if we save money, if it incentivizes more people to not take our plan, but we're still compensating them for that. But then the other risk is if then too many people leave our plan, then we look less attractive. Or then you're saying we don't have enough participation, so. But I think Wendy has the research on that, but I know that at least. For the purposes of our budget, we need to figure out the premium increase, and if we wanted to bring this back to you in November. Wendy has some research about what other communities offer, we could maybe take it up separately. That would though add to our budget theoretically, but I guess if then somebody's getting off, it may compensate, but as Wendy pointed out, right now, we've got two people that just without any compensation don't take our plan. So we would be compensating two people already, and then to not have that cost more, it would require more people are incentivized to come off, I guess, without.
You also would be
Yeah.
putting in the level that you put in for HSA and premium
Yeah.
contributions likely.
Yeah.
The other rule that there is that you can't do that for somebody that is at 65. So if they're Medicare age, you can supplement them or pay them to opt out, which is. Not usually the case in our world, so people usually leave before 65.
I'm all about checking it out, I don't wanna screw up the whole
Yep.
thing, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally had forgotten about that option, and obviously it's always about behavior, like, I think what I was. Trying to figure out is, does that have the one that Jeff likes where the deductible. Excuse me, was it 3?
3,
Okay, I was thinking, I like the one where you potentially see increases that are equivalent to the overall increase on the plan. That does shape behavior, that shapes plan selection, that shapes whether you try to get on a family member's insurance, that shapes. Utilization, it just does. So I don't know, that's the most market sensitive, we're not dealing with something that we have control over.
No, we
And nor
don't.
are the consumers, so.
I've had a couple of employees already that have asked prior to knowing that,
I think-
rates would be going up, that are looking to go to a lower premium.
Yeah, and I think if
Who's in the
we
lowest one?
keep the overall percentage, I can look to see. That, hey, if the plan you're taking specifically didn't jump, although we believe they all jump, we do differentiate in premiums. On multiple plans, so we could not necessarily. We could just say, hey, the increase won't be as much because your specific plan cost wise didn't go up as much for the city. The other thing I think, and Wendy and I disagree on this a little bit, is where I do see we're different is that a lot of cities just cover any increases for anyone on the single plan. So I feel that whatever the single plan goes up, it should be fairly low. So I put $8, I think it could even be 5, because generally our single plans don't cost much, but we do have one, if you are older, it does cost us quite a bit, so was Wendy's point is like, well, that's true for some employees, but for other employees, that it actually, there's one employee that their premium costs $1,600 a month on a single plan, and so in that case, one employee, we end up paying already 90% of their premium, so.
Is one of these options just like, we will pay this percentage of your healthcare costs and whatever it is, this is the percentage.
That's like.
I was trying to say that, but no one ever.
Yeah, I mean.
It would probably be easy to do if it was flat rate for everybody, but every person on Blue Cross is gonna be an age band.
Does that matter though?
Rate. Well,
If someone takes a
That's
bigger
how
plan,
other
you get a
employees-
percentage
Yeah,
and.
the single rate for PEEP is like $875. The family plans for PEEP is like almost $3,000. I mean, it's flat. Doesn't matter what age you are or whatever, and you go to the Mayo plan for single and you're over 50. It's like $1,000, something like that.
But that is how Zumbrota and St. Charles approach it, and that's why they have employees with 2 kids. Paying over $1,000 a month, is because that's how they do it. They say, we'll cover 100% of your. Anyone that's a single, so they break down it and they'll say we cover half of all your dependents on the plan and 100% of all the employees. And if you have 2 dependents, then in an older person, that's where you get into. The family premium is closer to $1,000 a month, so that's why we've talked about that, Brian. But we kind of kept it as, let's just do flat fee increases, because. If we did it that way. We would have employees that would go from $665 to $1,000 a month. In their premium increase, so.
And those are people with families.
The singles would save money. Overall, because most, again, other employees do 100% of singles. But employees with, on the full family, and again, it would, as Emily points out,
Yeah.
maybe direct more people to get their spouse off the plan, I mean.
Yeah, that's the numbers we deal with.
Yeah.
At my work, that's, $1,200-$1,500 family premiums is totally normal.
Did we help?
No.
Okay, so let me just get feedback here. I haven't heard from this side of the table, so.
I don't know, I mean, it's confusing at all get-go. I kind of. Yeah. I'm leaning towards number 3. But I personally would love to see us to say, hey, our policy is 80-20 or whatever, it's 95, 90-10 or whatever. And then we don't have to have this discussion every
Yeah.
year.
I know.
Because that's what.
It's not a,
And I have-
numbers work with numbers that we can't
I
compare.
have a hard time comparing, singles and families in this because they are different, there's a reason. And then you have to, I'll throw in the plan they got for each one, so it's like.
And it's important too to understand, like, it's not the cost of their insurance, it's their buying power for healthcare. Right, so a family has more utilization than a single, so there's gonna be different costs there, because. It's the price of their utilization paid for by insurance, so. It's not, it's not, I think we think of it as my insurance, and it's really your purchasing power. For one person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, depends on the family. And it depends on your age.
Like I said, if you wanted to go that route for the plan we're on, the main thing I see is that they take the premium and it's 100% coverage for the employee. And then 50% for any dependents, and then they add that up, and it's an individual premium for each person. If that's. Or like I said, on average, I said it's about 80-20, so we could just say it's 80%. And then it's, again, we get 37 different premiums, but.
Well, does that matter that we have 37 different premiums? Huh? Why?
Administratively, it matters,
It's a
right?
nightmare.
Well, I'm not arguing that.
It is,
I'm just saying.
it is basically one time and then it's stuck in the system, right? When
It's
you
good for the year.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, everybody, I don't mean to keep comparing this, but it's just what my experience is,
Right.
everyone has a different premium
Right.
Mhm.
that they pay. And it's just coverage and dependence, who's
So-
all on it.
Forgive, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was finished.
So. It's incumbent upon the city to find the best policy at the best price for its workers, right? And it's incumbent upon us to set the policy for what we're gonna pay. So if we say 80-20, then that's what we pay. Right? So in this market today, if not number 3, we will, it's gonna be 80-20, and it's always gonna be 80-20, and I know Wendy does this every year, Caroline, you do it every year, you guys figure out what's best in the market for our city. You know, and. That's what, and one other thing too, that we're not, you know, mayo is not cheap. In the formula area, it's just not cheap. And so is it. And I know that you have plans inside our policy that say you don't have to go to Mayo, you can go to Gunderson or whatever instead, right?
Yeah, they have non-mail, I mean,
Oh.
they have a plan with mail, but you have a plan, other plan.
For anyone on a single plan, though, we are probably paying 90 to 95%, so I would suggest that that percentage be higher if you're on a single plan. I guess a lot of places it's 100%, others it would be 90, 95.
Well, now that you bring that up, actually, having been in a company that is the insurance company. You know, I would always select like the health partners only one as a health partners employee. If you wanted a category that included other networks, including Mayo, it wasn't 80-20 anymore. It wasn't 100 anymore, it was now 80-20, or it was now 75 something, so that's another way that you say, well, plan selection that includes Mayo. Mayo is in our, you can't escape it, like Wendy said, even if you never select Mayo, their rates affect the rates everywhere else, so.
35% higher in this area of the state.
So,
Flat, alright, yeah.
Alright, so,
We've given you no direction.
No.
sorry, okay, so is there consensus versus the flat, the average? You'll pay 80% of the family plan, whatever their end number is for each person, and then what's the recommendation on the single?
You did say it's more common for 300 than other cities?
100 or 95?
Okay, whatever is industry standard.
We cover, I think, just a single employee, or
Yeah,
we used to, can't remember anymore.
so 100% on a single.
Yeah, and if that's what you're hearing, here, I'm thinking like, okay, that person now has no dependents, spouse is retired, no kids at home, no dependent kids, but is still working. You wanna be competitive market wise for that employee to have whatever other cities are, you know.
I get confused, let's see what Lake City does, hold on.
It used to be single here was 100% covered,
Yeah.
but I don't know when it switched,
Right.
must have been at least 10 years ago.
So it's also an incentive to a brand new
Lake
employee.
City, it's 90, we must have done the Lake City route, we must have been 90, we used to be 100, we went to 90. Yeah,
And the idea with that is someone who is taking a dependent and we're paying them a lot more compared to someone who's just a single person because they're rated. Because we're doing a percentage and there's so much more.
Correct.
Okay, I understand.
But the ones that don't take it right now, if we pay 100%. Do we include those ones in to maybe increase our buying power on this, you know, for lower rates or?
I don't know, do you get a sense of how much the census has to shift?
What was the?
You're almost forcing them to take it then, to the ones that aren't taking it. Right? Because you know, if you can use that for buying power.
We might be a small enough group where we don't really have that.
Not even big enough.
with bigger, like Wabasha County, you have to take it, cause they need all of you in your census.
Yeah.
Right now, we're being told as long as 75% of our employees take our plan, we're okay. So.
So it doesn't decrease the premiums then if you have.
No, yeah, if everybody takes it over there, they're gonna get a lower rate just because they've got more people on the plan paying them. It's just
So-
numbers.
Yeah, right now it seems like we're paying probably 90% to 95 on a single, we could increase it to 100 or. What do you guys wanna do?
I'd say 95.
Sorry, what was the consensus on the family?
80%. When do you have comments on that? I mean,
I don't wanna punish our families because I'm thinking about a few in particular that I don't wanna see more rates going up because the deductible goes up and the rates go up and they don't have any other options to.
And there's no wiggle room in the plan selection for them to say, okay, well, if my rate's going up, I'm going to this plan instead.
There are, well, few of them are already on the lower plans, so, I mean. Because if you do the lowest plan, the 553 plan, it's. It's a 70%. So you still end up paying co-pays and. All of it on top of it, so.
What I would like to advocate for, personally, is just then that we increase the HSA by the amount the deductible is going up. That if we do the percentages, so. But
You might need to run the numbers too, just to see what.
Right, what happens when we do this?
I was just gonna ask that, can we just see the result of this plan? And
well, I
what it
have
does?
it kind of, I've got it ready to go, thinking, well, I can't quickly do 80% of everybody, I can't do that. But I think what I determined was if premiums sort of go up with the increases, there is budgetary availability to increase the HSAs and keep it balanced, like that wouldn't. It would kind of balance, it was achievable within the budget, like we weren't gonna go over the prelim. That if we increase premiums, we could increase the HSA amount by the amount that's going up this year with, and it still probably would be less expensive than the city taking on the 23% premium increase entirely, but I could. We could more easily in November, probably easily show you this is what it looks like with that proposal of the 80, 95, the deductible HSA.
I think that would be helpful, because
Yeah.
as Johnson, and I keep saying this, I think it's a policy orientation about what do we think we should do for our employees. And
Yeah, let's
yet
say
it
that.
has budget implications, right?
Yeah.
So like John said, it's our job to know how much that costs and budget for it. It's your job to find this plan selection that you're good with and in the range of options that people have available to them. And we'll see if those numbers match our kind of assumption.
Is Tony, I can't see here. Did your memory recollect what our old HSA policy used to be? Have we always been, did we used to be 100% of the deductible in the HSA, or was it always 80 or 50?
I just seem to remember it was 100%.
Oh, I thought it was like 98, but I was here.
90.
It was 98.
So we used to be 90% of your deductible was in an HSA contribution, and that was a benefit, at least when I came from La Crosse. My premiums went up, but the HSA was very better, I
I
would
think
say.
we're around $4,000 was your deductible, and now it's
Yeah,
8, 9.
so that's why I'm advocating for at least budgeting for that and seeing what it looks like.
Put those numbers in. Let's see.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
then we will be able to, so like I said, I think with the percentage, there will be people that are gonna see a huge increase. And then, I hate to pick on Kylie and Tyler, but they will probably see a benefit of it, because they're both on the cheaper plans. Are you guys both silver? Yeah, yeah, so, but I think on the other hand, it means that you are paying for your plan selection, and there's kind of a market thing there, so. But as Wendy pointed out, I think people that have a big family and are older are gonna probably start seeing a premium of $1,000 a month. Or more regardless, unless they go on the silver plan, so. Alright,
Alright, thank you for all the work on this. It's not a fun topic.
could you guys make a vote? I think that would be helpful. I can repeat back what I think it was, or is this just come back to us next month? and
Yeah, I thought we were just gonna
decide?
look at it and just
I would like you to, yeah, come back next month with it,
Okay,
but I personally think we should come up with a policy that, so we don't have to have this every single year. So it's kind of like,
it just is what it is, yeah.
Especially as you've discovered, you know, from the time that we met as an ad hoc committee, that it's more about this percent coverage than it is about just finding good premium or being lucky enough to be union or whatever, you know, I mean, it's nuanced and your explanation is helpful. Very efficient.
Do we need a motion to table this till next meeting?
I don't know if we have action on it, sorry, I'm out of that one now.
Adopt a premium increase policy, so yeah, let's table it,
Okay.
and then you guys can adopt a premium increase policy.
With a motion.
Table, the next one.
First from John, second from Jeff, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, now we're to our franchise fee, first read.
So I thought the feedback last time was, given our upcoming. Continually looking at how to. Take money off the tax levy and put it somewhere else, there was the suggestion to increase the. Franchise fee, I came up with, I asked Excel to give us an option where it would capture an additional 25,000 a year, cause I guess reading the room, it was. Intended to be a modest increase, so in the packet, you have. What would be a modest increase, so for residential, their amount would go up by 35 cents. And 65 cents. They also discovered that for medium and large interruptible gas, we didn't have anything. But we didn't have any customers in the class, so then it's a fee if there's future customers in that class, so that's probably again not gonna. Change much for anybody. I'm noticing that commercial and small interruptible, they are saying. Should stay the same, and I didn't ask them about it, and I don't know if that was discussed in the cover letter. I think, the reason why we've historically looked at franchise fees is because nonprofit organizations pay it. So that's the advantage of, everyone likes to think about churches or St. Elizabeth's or National Eagle Center, and obviously they all use the roads, et cetera, so.
Plus whoever gets the power bill, so whoever's renting also contributes, correct.
And then we've also said that the taxpayers, if it's here or there, you know, but it does get divided up in the year, so this is a modest increase. What we need to do is publish it in the paper and probably have a public hearing.
Public hearing.
No,
Yes,
next month.
Like just.
So this is just merely to just say, did we get this right? And, or you wanna move forward with a public hearing and a paper publication?
Since it's not a land use amendment, you only need a public hearing and one read for adoption, so you're gonna go for next month.
All right, thank you for this. And now the budget discussion.
Okay, there was just so many changes and the healthcare is a big thing that really is kind of making the budget sway. So I thought we were stuck at 12%, and then we learned that, you know, the first year of our debt could potentially be lower. And so I think it would be more helpful, honestly, if we not talk about percents at this point. I think, right, with the levy going down for the debt, we were getting close to 10%. That took off quite a bit, but then Mike Lubani is recommending it's gonna go back up to 90,000 this year. So I'm definitely thinking we keep the CIP at 270 regardless of the franchise fee. We could increase it a little bit. But the other thing we've talked about is when is the barge terminal gonna come online and reduce the levy there. So if we assume that we don't need a levy for the port next year, we do have something to maybe compensate for the debt increasing next year, of which then we keep it even. So that was something the port discussed, was it the year to take the port levy off? And with the barge terminal coming online, the decision was no, but I think they feel good that the port profits, if it all comes together, of the future, should be able to, they will not be independent from the levy at that point, so.
So we're looking at 27 for that? The port taking them offline?
Not
Yeah,
this year, though.
Right,
Right.
right,
yeah,
not 26.
so I'm saying,
Oh, wait, that's
you know,
Yeah.
there will always be one-time surprises every year. But in just thinking about, I know that everyone doesn't wanna see over 10% on the levy. That is something that will occur hopefully in 2027 that we could count on once the street levy goes up. So the other things I wanted to get feedback on is that we did have to, increase healthcare premiums. The other thing that helped us since we last spoke is the police state aid increased by 18,831, which was very, very helpful. Our IT expenses went up by 8,500 for the GIS changeover payment. We used to be able to be hosted by Bolton and Mink, and S3 has decided, no, everyone needs their own license, and we really rely on that. I was trying to look and see if the county could do our GIS service, or maybe Goodhue County. And in talking to Brian, we could be at a disservice to have Goodhue County managing our GIS. So we're gonna have an internal meeting on it tomorrow. But unfortunately, we just have a one-time $17,000 expense coming online next year that wasn't in the preliminary. The other thing is if we assume the port to also need GIS, maybe we could divide it, utilities pay a third, general fund pays a third, port pays a third for that $17,000, divided up further. I did remove the chamber contribution expense of $15,000, or Tyler did, and Tyler also removed the food share. Oh, wait. No, we have to keep the food share in
We
there.
took Main Street.
Yeah. Port Authority is not doing food share. The food share thing stays, so I don't think that'll make a huge difference, but I've gotta put that back in there. Tyler, do you remember, did we take that out, or is it there, the food share in the 2026 budget?
I think it's still there, might be the wrong.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so the food share remains in the general fund. And then, and then we've got the bus payment, $6,000 per year on the bus payment. I have comments on the bus payment, but we can address that later. The ad hoc met on the ambulance, they increased their revenue slightly, but we also realized we probably didn't cover enough for overtime, so that was kind of a wash, we weren't able to have additional savings or revenues, but we're gonna meet again and see what revenue projections look like for the ambulance. And Councilmember Solar requested that staff reduce budgets by 5 to 10%. With the whole rating system, we did get guidance but from our financial advisor that the city needs to continue to keep up its reserves of 2 million. So my concern with applying a 5% cut is if the paper clips and the fuel cost the same, I don't wanna hurt us later because we just artificially said, let's lower the budget, but the costs come in the same. And the other thing that I've brought up is that we are personnel, so then to really reduce the budget, we have to just leave positions open. It's not, you know, there's Public Works probably has the most line items, but this year Tony is cutting from parks and adding to streets, and I'm still concerned that if there's something that comes up in parks that needs to be addressed, you know, he's still finagling with the budget, so. I'm not in favor of that, but I just wanted to put that out there that was your request.
I just wanna make a little
Yeah,
comment on that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I went through every line item in the budget that didn't include personnel costs, health insurance,
Mhm.
all the taxes you gotta pay and stuff. I just picked stuff that, you know, had a round number. I don't wanna pick on Tony, but he had $20,000 for forestry. Why can't he live with 19,000? There's a bunch of miscellaneous counts in every department, say $5,000 miscellaneous. How do you know you can't live with 5% less of that? And when I went through everything else, all that kind of stuff that just jumped out at you, that wasn't a real, like, not a suspicious looking number that was just kind of thrown out there. I came up with $27,000 in cuts. That's a 1.5% off the levy. So I don't know why we
Yeah, I
can't
mean,
look at something
if
like
you
that.
wanted to say, give us $27,000 in cuts,
Well,
that's,
that's what I said. I thought that's when I went through the budget and I was picking out line items that just kind of looked like, well, how does he know that's exactly $4,000? You know,
Based on prior costs, so.
no, but it can't be like when it's for gas expenses, it's gonna be exactly $4,000.
No, but you use your, no, of course not, but you use your costs to, your.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just
So
saying that
what-
why is there's never any incentive for this city council to cut anything.
Well, what do you wanna cut, Jeff?
I just told you what I wanted to cut.
Well, what if we have straight line wins and we have $20,000 with.
Our departments had it already cut,
Huh?
what they can, they've already cut what they can.
That's what they say.
Well,
Well, they're budgeting for what they think the costs are gonna be, they're not planning to spend it, they're looking at costs and assuming that cost will recur. So if we
They're
are
assuming, you said the
well,
assuming.
that's how budgets work, that's that's the tools that budgets are,
I just-
it's all assumed.
yeah, just to give you a small example, today I found out that we are in September and we are already in $6,000 worth of fuel costs for the fire department and we budgeted 5,000. That's because they've had a call increase, so their fuel is going up. So we have to now, or budget for more fuel, so
Or take it out of one of your
So,
categories.
forestry
Well,
is for,
That's
Tony,
that's what
Tony
happens.
gets a call and they call me sometimes. And they said, you know, I've got a dying city tree in my yard, get it cut down, and what's the cost to take down a tree after you grind it and stuff, that's, you know.
it could be $200, could be.
Yeah. So if you want us to start saying, we don't have any money to cut, well, I mean, the risk of leaving a dying tree in front of someone's yard is it falls on their house and then we were liable that they said, you know, so. I don't know, I mean,
I know what Jeff was saying, that it's kind of like, it's kind of the reverse psychology with fuel. It's always $2.85 and 99, or $2.85 and then 99 cents of the cent, you know. We'll just put it at 200 or $2.90 or whatever. It's just, it's kind of like smoke screen.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, for me to get down to watch a budget that tight, I'm gonna be over every year.
Exactly,
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's worth counting decimal points, you know, but.
and we don't want you dipping into the reserves for forestry when you know, you kind of know what your costs are, I mean, that's the budget's not the budget's not a check that we're writing, the budget is an estimating tool.
I think for the first time in my history this year, I'm gonna be over, and I've never done it, I've never had a problem, but things are so tight, it's just.
You're at a deficit, yeah, I know, we try to take stuff from you every year. All right, we don't need any actions on this tonight, besides other
is
additional.
there any other things you want me to look into or just?
What about the thing Mike was talking about? You mentioned it right away, where our debt payment for just 26 is gonna be, was it 60,000 less? So
40,000, yes.
40,000 less, so if we took that out of the budget. You know, he was said, like, the negative of that is you're gonna spike the next year, is it just an optics thing that we're worried about?
It will really happen.
Yeah, it'd be.
And what I was trying to say is, I think we may be okay
Right,
doing that if we believe that the barge terminal is profiting and, you know.
right,
Otherwise, you know, I know
But
that
it doesn't.
do we take that 40,000? And then save it for the payments as they roll for that exact thing, or is that the general idea, like? Well, now we go up to 100,000, we have this 40 that we didn't use, we can use that to
That's
pay
what
off,
makes advising.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense,
You say, or you said.
Park at the CIP and,
right,
you know, pull it out.
Was that right? Or you said you get ahead on something else, or you could split the difference and do half this year and half next year. And
Right.
you say 2% each year or something.
I just. When he said of the spike, I was thinking. In my head, the only reason we're not doing it is because it's gonna look
So-
look bad by
So
increasing,
what we
so.
can do for next month is, well, what do you wanna see? Do you wanna just see it? Take the savings for next year to lower the levy, or you wanna see, hey, this is what it looks like to invest the savings? I assume that the consensus would be everyone wants to lower the levy and then, you know, wait for next year and just figure it out then. but-
No, I don't like doing that. I
Yeah.
mean,
No, don't either.
that's what, we get ourselves into trouble when we do that.
Yeah. So we can take what the payment will be in 2027 and budget that additional amount in like the CIP.
Yeah, no, that's totally,
Savings, and then you guys can see what that looks like, and then if you want to cut it, then that's the place that you can cut it is. You know, so.
Everybody's tracking on that, right? We don't wanna have that
yeah, I am now.
surprise that we forgot, we were told about, yeah. All right, any further budget discussion? All right, now we have the MOU with Three Rivers. General business. So,
Okay, just, Dean pointed this out, so. What I missed was that, well, it's here, that they wanted $6,000 in 2025 and then moving 5 years out from now. So I just said, well, we didn't budget for $6,000 this year, so then that's why it was revised to say that in 2027 and 2028, it's actually $9,000. Moving forward. So, on the other hand, what I learned today is, in the past, when they actually bought the bus, the cities were on the hook for 20% of that cost. What I asked them today is a grant came across my desk for where you can use it to buy a bus, and so I was thinking, well, we could maybe apply for our 20% match. They have not procured the new bus for Wabasha, so the $6,000 per year for 5 years is going into a savings account for them. So that when they procure the bus in the next 5 years, that amount is available to cover the 20%. So it's not an exact number, it's kind of like what we've done for the ambulance, where it's like, we're gonna move to a new model of charging cities for a service. So I
it's
asked,
not just the bus, it's the bus garage, it's the whole.
yeah, I think it
the
would be
scheduling,
just for
it's-
reserves on the cost of the bus. But yeah, in
It's a
the
service,
past,
yeah.
in the past, it was 20% of the bus price. So I did ask them, what if council says, we just want to pay for 20% of the bus when you actually order it and procure it? Could we do that instead of this 6,000 a year for 5 years? And she didn't know the answer to that, but I think what they determined is it's supposed to be 6,000 a year for 5 years starting. It was supposed to start this year. If we wanted to keep it even, then we need to pay them 6,000 this year and then 6,000 next year.
It depends on what they get for a vehicle, but some of those vehicles that they're potentially gonna utilize are $275,000, so that's $55,000, that's more money than 20% of a bus is more than this. And then I don't think, it's just because we paid for a bus, that we're in their service contract, which pays for the actual service.
So does that clear up things for you, Dean? That,
Well, I was just questioning why we went from 6,000 for 5 years down to, the same amount for 4 years, that's all I had.
okay. I mean, the other thing is, I mean, we could ask them, no, we could counter and say, no, it's 6,000 for 5 years, starting in 2026, but. No, it's,
I know, I would prefer to not enter into the contract at all, and if they wanna come to us when they buy a bus and see where we're at that point. I'd entertain looking at it, but
Well, they'll stop our service then,
will they though, for sure?
I think so, yeah.
Well, who's gonna pay for the bus?
Well, what were the fees to get a bus ride, $1.50, $2,
$2.50.
$2.50?
250.
Raise the fees.
I mean, maybe you gotta increase that, you know?
I'd love for somebody else to join me on those transit calls, because they talk about all the communities that are served by Three Rivers, and it's very, very different by community. And that's based on demand primarily, but I always sit there just kind of feeling like it's a black box because I don't ride, so I don't know what to advocate for. I mean, they talk about, a lot of it in the past has been just getting these buses replaced. They went for 5 years without getting buses replaced. And the costs on some of them went from like 70,000 to 275, and now they're finally getting them. It's been like a period of no vehicles, just mechanical work constantly, so it's an interesting call.
This last 2 years, I've used it quite a bit,
Uh-huh.
and, we definitely needed Wabasha, and it's being used.
Mhm.
You know, you see it sitting down, idling a lot, that's just them waiting for a pickup.
How many, when you ride the bus, how many people are usually on it with you?
Well, it's all depends on,
Changed.
I was the only one going from my department to the clinic.
And how many seats are in that bus?
But sometimes it's full.
I have no idea.
No, they transport kids from the
They
school to the
transport.
ski hill and the kids have to stand, so it's utilized differently than you'd think
I had to wait
for golf.
up to, I was on the bus for over an hour one time because they had so many pickups and drops offs. And that was just going from, the hospital to my place, so.
No, the airline, what did they say they would use this money for? I'm just looking at their 12.1, it says. Three Rivers shall be solely responsible for all operating and capital costs that arise during the term of this agreement. And then paragraph 4.3 reflects the city's only obligation to contribute is the operating costs. Other than those payments, the city has no obligation to contribute to Three Rivers operating capital or any other costs or expenses.
Right.
Whether anticipated or unanticipated. Is there a conflict here in what you were saying, what they're using the money for?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it would go into capital fund for when they have to purchase the bus. That is a little bit confusing, but maybe they mean just operating and capital costs, so. You know, maybe there's a typo. I understood it was gonna go into like a capital cost reserve or savings account. So
There's a,
Like I said, it says the city has no obligation to contribute to them. It says the city has no obligation
Well,
to
other than
contribute to
those
Three
payments.
Rivers operating capital or and other than,
yeah, the 6,000.
it's kind of confusing.
you could join me if you want, there's a TAC committee coming up. That got moved. I wanna say it's the 13th, I'll send Caroline the webinar link and anybody can listen in. I mean, operationally, it's a complex organization, they've got, you know, certainly their fleet has been very not sufficient, and their garages have been improved recently, and they do different systems in different cities because of how the ridership works, whether they have planned stops. The big beef I hear with ours is it's only a scheduled ride, you can't pick the bus up at the grocery store and get on a circuit that goes to the clinic and then downtown and then back to the grocery store, so you have
There's
to.
individuals that wait down, quick trip for 30-45 minutes.
Yep, until their
Before they can.
ride shows up,
Right back.
yeah, until they're scheduled.
Yeah, I would suggest, any of you guys, if you have questions, call them up and go for a ride with them for a
Yeah.
day. You know?
I
I'd be
think,
more than happy to do that.
Mhm.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is a lot like, emergency services and police. So much of the work that's done is done not in the public's eye, or we
Right,
don't notice
right.
it, we don't see it.
Right.
So therefore, well, I didn't see it, so we don't need it. And having some kind of public transportation service, however limited it might be, I think it helps mobilize those people that don't have that opportunity to get somewhere. The city's not designed for pedestrians. You know, we're just not there yet, or we haven't been.
And I wanna say this too, that it's not just, the poor individuals in the community.
No.
There's wealthy, elderly people using this service. And they probably tip a little bit more. Every time I take it, I throw extra 500 for it in the box. But,
I mean, this rural public transit, it seems like it's an extremely difficult problem because you just don't have ridership, and to me, that just the way I always seen it, that bus is way too big for just being in Wabasha, you know, more of a van thing would be.
And they
like
may
more
choose that route.
efficient.
Yeah.
Not just for that reason, but also because there's places where they can't maneuver the bus.
Yeah.
So I'm really appreciating the new leadership, that they're innovating that way. They're looking at what vehicles are gonna be available through the state process of what gets selected. They're also trying to improve the experience by having like multiple trips to like they're talking maybe Kellogg, but certainly Wabasha, Lake City, Red Wing. With enough time to shop or with enough time to have a longer medical appointment that you might have to travel for, so there, it was painful to watch during COVID that they just could not get vehicles and were spending. You know, every bit of resources they needed to keep their fleet operational. So we're in a good place where they're able to actually order those buses or vans or whatever they end up getting, so.
So could I ask a question? Why didn't we pay to the 2025 year?
We could pay for this year,
But why didn't we?
We didn't know about
we
it.
didn't
Yeah.
approve it.
So why are we paying for it?
Oh,
They paid for it up front, right?
What were we invoiced for?
no,
Well, then why are we paying for it?
I thought it was paid 5 years
So
before.
according to payment, number 3, you know, they'll send an invoice in January, payment will be due in 30 days. Did we receive that payment or that invoice in 2025?
we didn't approve this contract yet, so,
So why are we paying for 2024 then?
yeah, that's what they're requesting,
I don't have
I
a
would
problem
assume
paying
we
it
could just
moving
say,
forward.
we're just
I don't like it.
I think it's. We could just say, hey, we'll start it in 2026,
Six.
and that's because you guys didn't come to us soon enough or something, but yeah, their intention was. I think to get to you guys sooner and then have the $6,000 come online in January 2025, but I mean, like I said, we.
2025. It could
Yeah.
come a lot sooner than 10 months.
To be fair, this was so unknown to me and Caroline that they asked a couple times to come meet with us, and it was like, it wasn't a hot priority because we thought they were just going to tell us about their services. It wasn't clear that they were approaching us because of with a service contract, so this is, and they've been working through all the communities that are engaged, so it's just a totally different model that they have, which is in part because of the variability in the vehicle pricing over that period of time.
And I think you were on council, or I know you and I were probably, that approved it before.
Right.
I don't remember.
I've been on this council for 5 years and
5.
or 6 years, we've never,
Or 6 years ago, I think it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
well, that's my point, it's all of a sudden they just throw out a year.
Well, I know,
They ask for $6,000.
I happened to sit in on that meeting, just happened to be here, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, none of us were aware of it,
Yeah.
but they definitely have documentation that the city.
It's a real
for their
thing,
buses,
we
it's
have,
real. It's
we have
real.
documentation, we paid it
Yeah.
in years past.
I'm not already, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess, yeah, I was surprised that we owed back pay, but. I mean,
so you want to go forward from 26?
yeah, I think we.
I just asked the question, it's a little odd and all of a sudden
I think,
somebody's asking
the
for
way it's-
$6,000 for a year that's already over.
yeah, I think then the way then it's structured is like, well. They said, okay, well then just make up for that 6,000 that you owed us in 2025 and make it up in 2027, so that's what I. Came up with, but we could certainly just approve it to say, no, it's 6,000 a year for the next 5 years and you lost a year or something,
If
Don't know what they
if
say.
they decide to just bail after 3 years, like it's not working out,
Mhm,
is there anything that, and they don't buy a new vehicle, is that money just gone?
mhm.
I don't see that happening.
No.
I mean, there's MnDOT support, like, at the table, we're not like.
Yeah, they have funding.
Much of this at all, yeah.
Yeah, they have
funding.
funding. No, I get that.
And like, this is a robust service in Fairville and Northfield
Yeah,
and
it's-
Red
And
Wing.
we get rides to the Prairie and Kellogg.
And they wanna go places that they can't right now, they'll always try to do a residential pickup with the bus, but if it's in a farm. Sometimes they can't get, they go out, but they'll go out and check to see whether they can or can't, so,
So if they're approaching us like this, are they approaching the townships too?
no,
Right.
it's all city sponsored.
Yeah, it's only cities in Goodhue, right, so I'm sure.
So, yeah, that's just another thing that's
I,
being utilized.
I
there's
thought
so-
I asked about it, and
isn't
they
very
really
good
don't
township.
go to Kellogg, they go to Kellogg. But I don't think they go to Greenfield Township, it doesn't work out,
Do they charge Kellogg?
no.
Okay.
So what do we want to do?
Open to ride in Kellogg. If you.
Yeah, but they're not charging
Yeah,
Kellogg.
so, okay, for $6, yeah, no, and, yeah, so.
Just like,
I think the service is viable, I think it's worthwhile having, I'm just a little peeved about the 2025, but let's move on.
Tell us how you.
Well, I did.
So make a motion to, enter into MOU, starting January 26th for 6,000.
Second,
Is that a motion?
Just 1 year?
Well, I'm starting the 6,000.
We can cancel it every year. We have an option, we can contract.
So,
I will be putting that on the agenda. It's gonna be like, to me, this needs to be a long-term commitment, otherwise it doesn't.
We
it
did,
doesn't work.
we did ask them for an annual report, so I think, and then that was recommendation that Tyler got. Really need to start asking food share, anyone who gets a contribution for us, we should be talking to them and getting reports from them in July and then evaluating everyone in the budget, so.
Heard it first, but I don't think I heard it second.
Second.
Second, thank you, Dean. Any further discussion?
So it's only 6,000 per year for 5 years, starting in 2026.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Alright,
Opposed, say no.
No,
I really would invite anyone, that they do require us to have a city representative. I'm not a very good one. I mean, all I know is really what my kids experience riding and the occasional patient comment about it, which is single, but
I was intrigued by the rides to Red Wing, so if anyone wants to ride the bus to Red Wing with me someday, I would like to ride the bus, so.
I'm gonna be looking.
Okay.
That, the one you sent me today?
I'm changing
Yeah.
the vote to second.
What was that?
It's out there, right?
No,
all right. Hearing nothing further on that, we have the donations. To the fire department, $100 from Martin Cecilia Wagner. To the library, $20 in memory of Alice Jarsted from Tony McMillan, $100 in memory of David Kriowski by Kathy Garrity, another $100 in memory of Norman Tentis by Kathy Garrity, and $1,025 from the Norman Tentis Memorial. We have a motion to approve the donation.
I move. Second.
Tim,
Yeah.
and thank you, Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Any other announcements?
Bus ride to Red Wing.
party bus.
Who's that, Tim?
That's not gonna ride the bus.
First by Tim, second by Dean. All in favor say aye.
Okay, that's enough.
Nate? You get thrown out, I'm not gonna.